Hey, how's it going, everybody? Mike Weber here, your Los Angeles real estate broker, here with your real estate market update for the beginning of February 2023. Pretty hard to believe that we're already in the second month of the year. Boy, does time fly. So what is going on in the real estate market here in the greater Los Angeles area? Well, as expected, over the holidays, kind of December, January, we do expect the market to be quite a bit slower than at peak selling season during the middle of the year. But as we've seen over the last couple months, the market has been much slower than any time in any holiday season for as far back as I can remember. We are starting to see the same trend of prices continuing to fall, but even in the face of the slowness that we're seeing in the market, prices are still holding in there pretty strong, surprisingly. Another curveball, I would say, is that inventory really isn't growing markedly, considering how long days on market is rising, how low pending home sales are and closed home sales, which is definitely an anomaly. We're not seeing a lot of sellers out there rushing to sell their homes, to cash out. Maybe people that have been thinking about moving out of state, get out of California, or maybe downsizers, that sort of thing. Not as many as I would expect to see, given the fact that prices have fallen as much as they have so far. Another new development, and this doesn't really make much sense because the Federal Reserve has been raising interest rates, but somehow mortgage rates have actually come down pretty noticeably in the last month. In some cases, for some loan types, as low as around 5.5% from previous highs, above 7%, up to 7.5% maybe. So this is definitely a reprieve for some buyers. It's going to allow some buyers to be able to qualify for a home that they couldn't a month or two ago. And it's certainly going to cause more buyers to get out there in the market and start shopping. So I think it's going to be an interesting time over the next couple months to see where the market ends up heading as a result of these lower interest rates, also combined with the low inventory, but prices kind of falling and the time on market going way up and the number of homes making into escrow going way down. It would seem that something is going to have to give at some point. The question is, what is that going to be? Now, guys, if I can help you with any real estate needs here in the greater Los Angeles area or beyond, definitely reach out to me. I'm here to help. Let's jump into the data. All right, so starting in Los Angeles County as a whole, we see that median prices continue to trend downwards slowly. We're down 4.7% year over year at this point. So around the same as we were last month from a year over year standpoint. I think just slightly below, but not a big drop, as I think you guys will notice once we start looking at some of the other data for Los Angeles, which is definitely kind of interesting. If we look at closed sales in the county of Los Angeles, we are down 42% from a year ago. We're down below the COVID lockdown low. So very little activity happening out in the market. To give you some perspective, in a normal year on the low side, we're at say 4,600 sales. And on the high side, around 6,500 sales. And so right now we're down at 2,500, about half of where we would be on the typical low end, even in slow season. So obviously not a lot happening out there in the market. Of course, homes are still selling. 2,500 of them did actually close, over that slow month of January. When we look at pending sales, however, things look even worse than closed sales for Los Angeles County. We're down 59.2%, nearly 60%, way below the COVID lockdown lows. The chart just keeps heading downwards. Definitely not a good sign. Obviously, this means probably the data that we're going to see in March for February is going to look even worse than what we're seeing for January. So we'll obviously be keeping an eye on this, but it just shows you that there's very limited activity out there, and a lot of the homes that are available for sale are not necessarily going pending or obviously being sold. Next, I want to show you guys average days on market just to give you some perspective on what the market's doing in the sense of how long it's taking for a home to sell on average. Now, we were trapped in a market for years where everything seemed to be selling in 3 days, 5 days, 10 offers, 20 offers. Now we have an average days of market of 44 days. We're up 46%. This is definitely a multi-year high going back to, it looks like 2019 on the chart. So from a seller standpoint, taking a lot longer on average to get a home into escrow. Obviously, the better the home is priced, the better the condition, the more quickly that it will go into escrow, the more reasonable and flexible the seller is in making something work with a buyer, so on and so forth. And for buyers, conversely, it means that there's generally more options out there. They have a little bit more time to find the right home, get an offer accepted without having to compete as aggressively or have to worry as hard about finding a property and moving on it very quickly. Moving on to the South Bay beach cities, interestingly, we see median prices are still holding pretty strong, just down 0.6% from a year-over-year standpoint. Of course, they're way off the peak from around May of last year, but overall hanging in there pretty well at the same price level that we were at before COVID hit, which of course is still the highest prices that we've ever had in history, which again, for sellers, a lot of sellers seem to think the world has come to an end because we've come down off that peak in May. But realistically, we're still at the most incredible prices that we've really ever seen in the history of the country, which means from a seller standpoint, if you're looking to move or downsize, still a great opportunity to take advantage of an extremely strong market, at least in terms of prices. When we look at closed sales, same thing that we're seeing in Los Angeles County as a whole, we're down 35.4%, well below the COVID lockdown lows. Not much happening out there in terms of closed sales. Granted, we're looking at January, which is going to be a slow month. Obviously, things are going to start picking up here in February and March. But again, we haven't seen closed sales this low for a very long time. Pending sales, just like in the county of LA, looking a whole lot worse. We're down 60.8% year over year. Imagine just 124 sales closed in January in the entire South Bay. Kind of hard to believe. Normally, we hover from maybe 300 on the low end to 600 on the high end. So down pretty substantially from what would be a typical sort of selling season or normal market for the area. Lastly, average days on market in the South Bay beach cities up 76.9% to 46 days. A lot longer than anything we've been seeing for a long time. I don't even know if that counts the properties that cancel or expire off the market either. So definitely taking quite a bit longer to get a home into escrow. Obviously very important for sellers to be smart in terms of their strategy for getting the property sold. So what does all this mean? I mean, ultimately it means we're moving from that strong seller's market more towards kind of a balanced overall market, more of a settled market, easier for buyers to be able to shop and to get an offer accepted, little harder for a seller to sell. Good news is homes are still selling. They're still selling for close to the highest prices in history. Interest rates are getting cheaper, allowing buyers to get a little bit of a break at a much better price than they could have got 6 months ago, 8 months ago, or a year ago. So definitely a good opportunity to get out there and do some real estate. Again, if I can help you with anything, reach out to me, let me know. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care.